how.
So at this point, Carlos and the entire Scout Sniper experiment on Hill 55 is proving to be extremely effective, and word is spreading throughout the Marine Corps and the local military operating area, and they have gotten the nickname Murder.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Burke, like Burke was his favorite sniper, but like what I was saying was like, with Carlos was probably living the dream here. No idea about Burke. Like Burke was a fantastic sniper. That's why Carlos always wanted to work with him. But no idea if he was, loving it as much as Carlos was. Because I have little doubt that Carlos was just in his element, fucking loving it. Burke, who knows? I mean, obviously he did the job and he did it extremely well. Whether or not he had the same kind of mental and emotional response, God only knows.
Inc. So some press officer in a stroke of genius, I assume, says to himself, wow, there's this new experimental type of unit being extremely successful by being sneaky and unseen, and the enemy doesn't know about them.
I'm gonna write a fucking news story about it and publish it for the entire world to see. God fucking damn it. Fucking journalists. Fuckity fuck fuck fuck. Oh, shit. Yeah, this is why, honestly, we are so used to press being there on the battlefield these days. It's not a good fucking idea. It's not. Like, honestly, people need to keep the press off the fucking battlefield. The military needs to tell the press, pack your shit up and go. I don't give a fuck if you're the Fourth Estate. This is goddamn war. You don't belong here. Go report in your cozy little studios, from your cozy little apartments, or from the fucking hotels. You stay the fuck out of my goddamn LZ. They need to start telling journalists to fuck right off. Because they're broadcasting on a worldwide scale now. They're broadcasting the US tactics on a broad scale. Even if the military is using other tactics that they are not telling the press, they're still telling them something, which is not fucking good. Keep them the fuck out of the goddamn LZ. Yeah. Like, seriously, just, like, keep the journalists out of fucking Warzone. At least on the American side. You want to send them over with the enemy, by all fucking means. If you get blown up, it's your own goddamn fault. Keep them away from the US military in the field. Keep them the fuck out of there.
Extremely successful by being sneaky.
Let's give the enemy the face and name of the guy destroying them. 'Cause that makes fucking sense. Said no one ever.
Honestly, J10, it's not even that. It's not even that. Giving them the name and the face. It's not even that. It's giving away the US's tactics. That's what pisses me off. Oh, thank you, Leo. Yeah, it's not about like exposing a person. That'll get done anyway, honestly, within the that'll get exposed within the enemy lines anyway. There'll be survivors that they'll somehow get a name, they'll get a face, they'll let their other whatevers know about it. That's not it. It's basically leaking US tactics and troop movements. That's the problem. You got a name and a face, big fucking deal. It's not gonna do you any good if your own face gets blasted away by an M60 or an M249. Knowing the name and the face of the guy who just eviscerated yours don't do anything for you. If you know the tactics, if you know the routes that they're planning on taking, because the news is fucking broadcasted all over their worldwide, reporting, now it becomes a tactical nightmare. What were you saying you disagree with me on? Hang on. Okay, somebody said they disagree with me. I'm trying to find it. Okay, Bobcat, what did you say? Oh, have to disagree with you on that. embeds have bailed my guys and many other out of investigations. But okay, so Bobcat, we may be talking about two different things. We may be talking about two different things. I'm talking about you're talking about like standardized patrols. Are you referring to like, standardized patrols that are very well known at this point and not like major troop movements? Because that is something entirely different. I'm talking about like actual tactics where they're showcased, like they're embedded with troops and they're basically broadcasting troop movements, where they're going and what they're doing as a tactic to try and bring down the enemy. If we're talking about standardized patrols, they already know you're there. They are those standardized patrols. They already know that's happening. That's been well established by the enemy. They already, that's been measured and everything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about advancement and warfighting. That's where I'm talking about. You should not have the press embedded with you during that time. Like, don't let the press around to give away your troop movements, to show where the troops are being deployed to. Or, what your operations are. You're in a recon unit? And you... Okay. Okay. Wow. Hey, wait a minute. Oh, wait. You're saying that because the press basically, okay. I see what you're talking about, Bobcat. You're talking about the press was there, they recorded you guys, and when someone made a complaint against you guys, the press's recordings got you out of UCMJ type charges and shit like that. Is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. In when you were saying that earlier. I thought you were talking about like talking with the the press helping get you out of a sticky situation with like the locals. You're talking about like if someone makes a complaint that your unit did bad thing X, Y, or Z, and the press actually had footage to show that you did not do bad thing X, Y, and Z, and thus they helped you out. Okay, that's totally different thing that I was thinking you were talking about. I still have an issue with it, especially if you're a recon unit. Especially if you're a recon unit. The fact that they could give you away as a recon unit, it still rubs me a very wrong way. Now, at the same time, at the same time, the upper echelon has gotten fucking pussified with we can't let soldiers be soldiers. And they'll the upper echelon is happy to bury their own fucking troops, believing everything under the sun, versus, hey, these people may not like American troops. This is pretty well known in many countries the US is operating in, and they might want to just fuck with the US troops. I don't know. It's a whole thing. There's probably plenty of counterpoints to what I'm saying about why the press should be in. Like, why press, it's a good thing to have them embedded. Bobcat, you brought up an excellent point there, where it's saved your ass from the higher ups a couple times. To me, it's just, when I think of the press, press being embedded, the only thing I can think of is they're exposing the movements, the equipment, the tactics of the troops to the enemy. That just sticks in my head, and I don't like it. So I understand there are perfectly legit and valid counterpoints to it. You, Bobcat, you post one of them, but that's just how I feel about it.
And unseen, and the enemy doesn't know about them. I should write a newspaper article about them to let everybody back home know how effective these guys are. So now Jim Land, Carlos, and the rest of Hill 55 are all pissed off. Nothing a sniper enjoys more than when you shine a fucking spotlight on them. Mainly, Ho Chi Minh puts a bounty on both Jim Land and Carlos Hathcock's head and sends his very best sniper to go collect those bounties, a guy by the name of Cobra. But Carlos doesn't know that for sure. That's just the word on the street, until one day there's a young Marine staff sergeant passing by Carlos's tent, and he stops to have a conversation with somebody right by the door of Carlos's tent, and he gets shot by an enemy sniper. Carlos runs out of the tent, sees what happened. He immediately puts together this enemy sniper's probably been watching him for days, and he knew that that was Carlos's tent, and he saw that that NCO was about the same size, same build as him. The enemy sniper thought that he'd just killed Whitefeather. And Carlos Hathcock is absolutely furious. He grabs his rifle, he grabs...
Shit.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Somebody just took the leash off of Carlos Hathcock.
John Burke, and they head off in the direction that that shot came from, looking for this enemy sniper. They're proceeding with caution, looking for an enemy sniper, stalking their way up there the entire time, so it takes a long time, but they finally work their way down over to the next hill and start working their way up, and they end up finding this sniper's hide. As they're climbing this hill, it started to level out a little bit, and then it dipped back down into this tiny little creek waterway, and then it started going right back up. The creek wasn't even visible unless you were literally right on top of it. It was the perfect spot for a sniper to be. And the
Don't get me wrong, you keep the reports on a leash. Minimum 24-hour hold-on broadcast. As for revealing our tactics, those have been used nearly unchanged. For at least centuries, sources should be protected, but if you don't know the methods, you don't belong on either side. Yeah. I mean, fair enough, Bobcat. Yes, Geronimo's... Oh, I'm very aware that what he's talking about now is the video that him and Nick, because I think Pew's name is Nick also. Hi, Plug. Yeah, this is the infamous through the scope shot. Falcon, not yet.
Little tiny creek was perfect to slip down into and make a perfect, clean, covered getaway and go completely unnoticed. So Carlos goes, you know, that's exactly what I would do. So he starts following this waterway to see where it leads, and they're following it, and they're following it. And sure enough, they come up, and on the other side of this little waterway is the biggest, muddiest, most intentional looking footprints on the fucking planet. Carlos immediately knows that if he follows those footprints, he is going to be walking face first into a trap, because that sniper realizes that he had just fired upon an entire hilltop full of snipers, and surely one of them is going to come after him after he had just killed the infamous Whitefeather. So whatever is on the other side of those footprints is handcrafted by a sniper to kill another sniper. Carlos is looking at the footprints, weighing his options. He could call in artillery and just level the entire side of the mountain from there on out, but that wouldn't be a guarantee, and he needs to make sure, because this guy is too dangerous. The problem is this hasn't really been done before, okay? This sniper platoon that's experimental and is paving the way for sniper warfare hasn't run into this issue where they have to go toe-to-toe with a near peer, and they have the upper hand. Carlos is kind of nervous. This sniper's good. He's done everything the exact same way that Carlos would have done it. Later in his life,
It's Nega Carlos. And I'm guessing this is the inception of the counter-sniper tactics that I'm sure all scout snipers are trained in these days.
He was interviewed about this, and the interviewer asked him if he was scared, to which Carlos replied, "I was never scared, but at this point, I was very, very alert." At this point, Carlos says, this guy's good, but he's not better than me. There's no way. He then proceeds to don his plot armor, and him and John Burke walk face first into a trap. So they're following this guy's trail. It's so obvious it's got to be intentional. And they come up onto this clearing, and off in the distance, they see the most obvious tiny little one-man campsite on the face of the planet. There's no way a sniper this good is being this obvious. So Carlos is just frozen, trying to figure out what is going on and what this guy's thinking so that he can counter it. He's trying to be one step of the enemy, knowing that the enemy is already one step ahead of him. So he just asks himself, what would he be doing in this situation? And he comes to the conclusion that the enemy sniper is probably expecting whoever's following him to come up onto that campsite to investigate, meaning that that enemy sniper has a hide somewhere with a perfect shot directly at that campsite. So Carlos reevaluates everything, deciding where he would pick the perfect shot if he had to shoot at somebody at that little campsite, and he finds it. So Carlos and John start maneuvering out and around so that they can get a perfect shot at where they think this sniper is going to be set up. It takes them a while. They're proceeding with a lot of caution. They're moving super...
Well, okay. Bear in your mind, how many of you in chat have seen the movie Sniper with Tom Berenger? How many of you know this? How many of you have heard of this movie? I don't know this for sure, but I am almost 100% sure that the sniper battle between Tom Berenger's character and the sniper that he trained years ago that had been dogging him on his mission the whole movie, what do you want to bet it was inspired by this sniper battle? Because in the end, the way Tom Berenger, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the Tom Berenger's name. Tom Berenger's character was a Marine Scout sniper. And the way the sniper battle ended is the enemy sniper was hunting Tom Berenger and, who was with them? Billy Zane. Billy Zane was, no, Billy, no. That is a different movie, Revan. That is a newer movie. So Tom Berenger and Billy Zane. Billy Zane was asleep. Tom Berenger knows that this other sniper is around. So he gets himself into a firing position, into a hide. The enemy sniper sneaks up on their position. Wookie Taisel, have a good night. The enemy sniper sneaks up on their position. He gets Billy Zane lined up in the scope. Tom Berenger basically ties like a piece of 550 cord. Beckett, thank you. Thank you, 504. Yeah. So Beckett ties a piece of 550 cord to his knife. And just basically drops the knife down so it hits like a puddle of water below his position. The enemy sniper whips his rifle around, sights in on that knife, realizes it's just a knife, looks up and sees Beckett aimed right at him, and I think it was a through the scope shot, where Beckett basically takes the enemy sniper out. I think it may have actually been through the scope. And I'll betcha it was a 100% inspired by this. Well, yeah, more Ravens, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's why I prefaced it. I will bet, I was betting dollars to donuts that this was what inspired it. Yes, the Gucci flage. Uh-huh. Yes, correct, Bobcat. Oh, Destar, you gotta go? Okay, have a great night, Destar. Yeah. Ever since I saw the Pew video where it's him and Nick, where they recreated the shot, that's what I thought of. Was, okay, this is exactly the scene from Sniper had to have been inspired by Carlos Hathcock. Yes, Xanax, at the end of the movie, in the climate, like right before the climax, yes, Beckett, they capture him, they torture him, they basically damage his finger so badly he can't use it.
Slow, but they end up making it there, and they start scanning the entire area where they think that enemy sniper might be, looking for a very well concealed enemy. John Burke using his binoculars, and Carlos using the scope on his rifle. They're scanning, they're looking for this guy, and time passes, they keep looking, and suddenly there's a gunshot, and Carlos's heart falls into his stomach. Time stops.
Oh, no.
He doesn't know if he's hit, or worse, if John got hit, and maybe his overconfidence walking face first into a trap just got his best friend killed. And then John Burke says the last thing that Carlos ever wanted to hear, "I'm hit." And as he says that, Carlos feels warm liquid hitting up against his leg from John Burke's direction as he looks down and sees water soaking into his pants. And he looks over. John Burke's canteen had just gotten shot off of his hip, and John was fine. Carlos absolutely...
Fuck! Oh my god! Fucking hell! Oh Jesus! Net? Bravo to your storytelling, because my heart was just in my throat. I was almost ready to cry. Bravo fucking foe to that storytelling. Because goddamn, that was good. Oh, shit.
Relieved, tells John Burke, it's just your canteen, get up, we gotta go. They break contact, then they re-enter their stock. The only way out of this now is to kill him first, and they don't know where he's at. Hopefully, he doesn't know where they're at either. But they do kind of know where that initial shot came from, so they start making their way there through this irregular route, stalking along the way, trying to find this guy, and they're stalking. It takes them forever, but they finally get to where this guy took the shot, and they find his hide. Again, it's a perfect textbook hide, exactly what Carlos would have done. And Carlos is looking around trying to figure out where the hell this guy went. And then Carlos looks down to where they were, and he sees a glint. And they hunker down, and he asks John Burke, did you just see that? And John's like, yeah, but it could have been a...
Here's the fucking movie. This is it. This is the fucking movie. This is Sniper. There's Tom Berenger, and that's Billy Zane. God fucking damn it. This is it.
Moth, it could have been anything. And he's like, yeah, but that's exactly where we were. And Carlos realizes maybe this guy did the exact same that Carlos had just done. He had went to where the enemy was last. And then Carlos realizes that the sun is now on his back, and in his prior position, the sun was in his face. And then he realizes that John Burke's canteen was metallic on top. And maybe Cobra saw the glint off of his canteen, and that's why he took that shot. Carlos doesn't miss, but Cobra didn't miss either. He just picked a bad target. Then Carlos sees the glint again, and he just fires instinctively right out of the gate. And again, time stops. John Burke can't believe that he took that shot. Maybe it was a moth. Hell, maybe it was Cobra, and he has a canteen too. At least then they'll be even. And they wait. It feels like forever, but it's only like a second. And out of the shadows of where this glint was, a rifle barrel comes into the sunlight, and they see it as Hathcock reloads and gets ready to make a secondary shot. The barrel falls to the ground. Cobra falls on top of it, sliding down the hill a little under this awkward resting position. They wait, they watch. Carlos is ready to make this follow-up shot, but this guy's not moving. So they finally get up. They make their way over to his body. As they approach him, John Burke realizes that Carlos is shot directly through the enemy's scope, not even touching the sides of the tube.
I was right. This was exactly it. This
not moving.
Yeah.
So they finally get up. They make their way over to his body. As they approach him, John Burke realizes
this was the scene. What's missing, precipitating this, is just before this, Beckett dropped his combat knife affixed to some 550 cord, dropped it down. Beckett was up on a log. The enemy sniper sighted in on that, realized it was a decoy, shoots his scope up right in line with Beckett. Beckett fires.
John Burke realizes that Carlos is shot directly through the enemy's scope, not even touching the sides of the tube. At this point, Carlos immediately realizes for that to happen, Cobra had to have been looking directly at him as well. Not John Burke, not somewhere else. The only way that shot was possible was for both of them to be looking right at each other at the exact same moment, and Carlos was just quicker to pull the trigger. And maybe, just maybe, the only reason that Cobra saw Carlos first and not John Burke was because of a chicken feather. Carlos actually ends up deciding that he's going to take Cobra's rifle with him. He brings it back to the base, and at some point during his deployment, it ends up getting stolen, and he can't prove that he made this shot.
Oh, fuck you, whoever stole his rifle. Fuck you. God damn it. And yeah, Gore, in fact, like, that was a point of contention in the video we watched where Pew makes the shot to prove it could actually happen. Mythbusters tried to do it a long time ago. And they said, oh, it couldn't because they were using a modern scope. They were not using a period-accurate scope. And that's why it failed. They used a period-accurate scope, and it worked. And yes, I'm fucking pissed. Because... okay. My level of being pissed will vary based upon if it was another Marine who stole the rifle or a Vietnamese. You know, that, because, you know, they when they established their camps, there was Vietnamese around, there were Vietnamese native citizens around there. So it all depends on who stole the rifle. If it was a Marine, fuck that guy. It's fucking blanket party time if it was a Marine. 100%. And yeah, like Leo, Mythbusters, yeah, they traded again, then they used hollow point rounds. Like, they fucked up that test 6 ways from Sunday, unfortunately. Hello, bear with me. Doing good.
Buh! That's because it's all complete BS. He made it up. He never made that shot. Even the great Mythbusters couldn't recreate this shot, and they tried.
I wish I had this on my soundboard, but... And here we go.
Repeatedly. Buh. Yeah, people have tried to recreate this shot. To the best of my knowledge, nobody's actually been successful at doing it, and it's probably because nobody's put forward a good effort. Even Mythbusters, with the Discovery Channel budget, managed to mess this up to the degree that it's atrocious. Okay, the first time they tried it, they shot it at a modern scope. Obviously not gonna work right out of the gate. It's doomed for failure because a modern scope has about 10 times.
Yeah, was this the same episode that we watched with Pew? Where Pew shot it and shot this was that episode, was it not, that we watched? Okay.
Times as much shit inside of it, and there's no way you're going to be able to penetrate through it. Then they realized that they were shooting at a modern scope, so they got a Mosin Nagant period accurate scope, which is what Cobra would have had,
and here we go.
Thank you, Leo. I definitely need to find that for my soundboard though, because that was a little bit too quick.
He should be able to penetrate through that scope way easier.
Yeah, I know.
Had they not been shooting at it with a 308 fucking hollow point round, okay? If you don't know, a hollow point round is designed so it immediately expands and dumps all of its energy on impact, okay? You're trying to penetrate through something. Why would you fire a round designed to expand and dump its energy? If I wanted to stab a motherfucker at a skating rink, do you think I'd have better success with an icicle or a snowball? Then, after that, they're like, oh, well, you know what? We should actually try shooting at it with a 30-06 round, which is exactly what Hathcock would have been shooting. But the only gun that we can afford that's chambered in 30-06 on our Discovery Channel budget is some old M1 Grand.
God, yeah. Mythbusters fucked this up. Cheer 100.
Oh, completely fucked it up. And it's kind of funny that TTS pronounced Mythbusters so wacky.
And we're also not going to put Full Metal Jacket regular plain old 30-06 rounds in it. We're going to use an armor-piercing round, so it's obviously going to work, and it's also going to cast doubt on the entire thing because there's a 0% chance that a sniper in Vietnam had access to armor-piercing ammunition. Okay, all you have to do to recreate this shot the right way so we can know for sure if this is even possible is get a Winchester Model 70.
Alex? I don't know. First blush thought, I don't think they fucked it up on purpose, because if they fucked it up on purpose, and there was even a hint of that, it would cause people to doubt and maybe tune out of the show. And this was back when ratings actually mattered to the studios. So if there was a hint of them basically doing shit, playing fuck around, then they would have lost viewer counts and that would have affected their budget. And Pactor's right. These are special effects guys. They're not gun guys. They're not military guys. So this was kind of outside of their skill set. Did he talk about its annex? Okay. We may need to watch that one of these days.
Get a 30-06 Full Metal Jacket round and get a 3X Mosin Nagant scope and shoot it through the scope and see what happens. And to the best of my knowledge, it's never, ever been done. Until now. For this, I teamed up with my friend Nick Johnson over from the PewView channel. He's the best shot I know. If I know anybody that can get this done, it's going to be him. But we didn't want to just capture this on camera. We're potentially proving history if we can get this done. We wanted to capture this on camera to the best quality that technology currently allows. And for that, we called up my other friends, Adam and Bryce from the Ballistic High Speed channel.
God, we watched this episode. We actually watched this episode. For anybody that is new here to my channel, we watched this episode. It is on YouTube. I've put my reaction on YouTube. This video is why I absolutely cream my panties every time I watch Pew. This was my introduction to PewView and Ballistic High Speed. It was my introduction to both, but Every time I watch a PewView video now, I need to change my panties afterwards. Because I did not realize how unbelievably good of a shot Pew is. Because he made this shot first time. So yeah, if any of you guys are interested, I reacted to this very video Nick is talking about. It is in my YouTube channel. You guys can check it out after stream, of course. Please don't go anywhere. Wait till I'm done with the stream. But if you want to check it out, it is there. Please feel free to watch it.
Channel, and they drove up from Indiana with their fancy
Cheer 100 Fat Electrician said if you want it done right you gotta do it yourself.
Yeah. And they did, J-Ted. With extreme prejudice. And Xanax, no. Pew is not husbando. Pew is just please fuck me hard and just have me begging for more. Oh wait, did I say that out loud? Sorry. Anyway, moving on.
ass cameras, and we captured this shot at 100,000 frames per second, and Nick Johnson managed to do it on the first try. Not only did the bullet manage to penetrate all the way through the scope and into the head without touching the sides, just like Hathcock said, it also managed to push a significant amount of the internals of the scope as well as powdered glass directly into the brain as well. It absolutely
oh yes, Alistair.
fatal. We actually captured more angles of this shot and a bunch of more footage as to how we set everything up and how we got it done. And that's all going to be put together into a long form video over on PewView's channel, and he should be releasing it the same exact day that I release this. So after this video, you can go check his video out, and then hopefully after that, you'll go check out Adam and Bryce over at Ballistic High Speed. Their entire channel is
which we have
just like this. So yeah, if a bunch of random dudes can come together on an afternoon in the middle of a cornfield and recreate this shot on the first try, not only is it plausible, it's absolutely probable that Carlos Hathcock, the winner of the Wimbledon Cup and one of the greatest snipers ever, managed to do it in real life. Also, not trying to brag or toot my own horn too much, but I only bothered tracking down and buying one Mosin Nagant scope because I was that confident we were going to get this done on the very first try.
Uh-oh. That's the wife, isn't it? Deontay, that's the fucking wife calling. Going, you spent how much?
Yeah, babe.
What are all these telescopes doing on my counter?
I just take them to Kohl's and return them. I don't need them anymore. Yeah, you have horrible timing. Love you.
Okay.
Bye.
And God, and now we're getting him doing a sniper shot with the fucking M2. Oh, this is gonna be fucking good. I remember hearing him, I heard him talk about this on Unsub. He talked about Carlos doing the shot where he said, slap a fucking sniper scope on this thing, I'll take him out, and he did it.
Cheer 100 when Ember watches PewView. I wish to be her chair less than 3.
Andrew, you just want to feel me squirming. I know you. I know what you're thinking. You just want to feel me squirming all over the place.
So for Carlos's next adventure, it's not really an adventure. He ends up getting stuck on Hill 55 doing a bunch of Overwatch duty. Basically, he's up on top of Hill 55, which is kind of right by the Ho Chi Minh Trail. If enemies walk by, he shoots at them. The problem is, by this point, Hill 55 has been occupied by snipers for months, and the Viet Cong have kind of figured out that that particular hill is a little bit spicier than the other ones, and they can put accurate fire out a lot further than most other hills could. So they just stay extra far away from it, which, you know, to be fair, brilliant plan. That's exactly what I would do. So Overwatch duty, kind of boring. Carlos Hathcock is just kind of sitting up there. He can see these bad guys way off in the distance, right? They're on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They're smuggling stuff. They're doing recon on the hill, whatever they're up to. He just doesn't have a gun that's both accurate and powerful enough to reach out there and do something about it. So then one day, a couple of CBs show up and they're building something for Hill 55.
Cheer 100, can you blame her?
I hope not.
And Carlos goes over to the CBs because, I mean, let's face it, the CBs can build just about anything with virtually nothing. And he's like, hey, I need you guys to build me a mount for an M250 cal so I can just pop the scope off of my Winchester, throw it on the 50 cal, zero it. And
Thank you, Leo. Thank you for 5 gifted. Thank you so much. And hi, Glee Quarter.
a longer ranged weapon for when I'm on Overwatch duty on top of the hill. And the CBs are like, sure, no problem. Here you go. Made it for him right away. So now every time Carlos shows up to Overwatch,
What's so interesting is this kind of thing has kind of become a bit standard.
Cheer 10-0-0. I will not lose my spot, damn it.
Thank you, J10. Thank you for 1,000 biddies. But yeah, this kind of thing is, look. Oh, Cortanus, you're about to find out how he zeroes this thing properly. Yes, you will be explained. But here's the funny thing is, this is brand new for the time. You effectively have something like this on the M2 in modern day. Like, I would like to think that this is a pioneering step for the military in terms of their mounted weapon accessories. You've never seen Lord Raven, do you mean you've never seen a picture of his M2? The one that he had the scope mounted. I was gonna say, you've never seen a picture of the M2? Exactly, Beth. Exactly, Beth. That's what I'm talking about. Now you have, like, night vision optics, thermal optics. You know, you have all sorts of different optic, mounts available for the M2. I'd like to think that this pioneered that progression moving forward. That's what I would like to think. Is that Carlos Hathcock is responsible for the military going, huh, we can put a scope on there. Nice. And Falcon, I bet you're not wrong. I bet you're not wrong. Probably years down the line, someone went, wait, this man did a sniper shot with an M2. It was very effective. What if we took that round and put it into an actual sniper rifle? By the way,
Cheer 125.
Thank you, Tysel. But, chat, fun little me fact. You guys know I play COD Mobile, usually when I'm supposed to be working. Shh, don't tell my boss. But, when I play COD Mobile, and I do a match on a map, usually it's, sometimes Crash, but, Crossfire. Typically it's Crossfire. I'm a sniper. I'm 100% a sniper. I will always, if the map allows for it in any way, I am running a sniper rifle in COD Mobile, and I'm running the fucking Arctic. I'm running the 50 cal as my sniper rifle. No, unfortunately, Shadow Warrior, the Call of Duty Mobile doesn't have the AK-50, unfortunately. No, I'm running effectively the Barrett. Effectively speaking, I'm running the Barrett stock scope with explosive rounds. So I love me my 50s. I love me my 50 BMG sniper rifle. Whoa, stay out of my way if I'm running sniper. Oh yeah, well Leo, if they put that into the game, I might try it. There are a couple sniper rifles I'll use in COD Mobile, and I like a few of them, but the 50 is my favorite, hands down. Because it's semi-auto, so I can shoot and shift target and fire again, taking out second target without having to have the delay of the reload. So I can basically drop 3 targets in less than 3 seconds if they're grouped up nicely.
he pops the scope off of his Winchester, mounts it onto the M250 cal, and then he just has to zero it to the 50 cal, and he does that by shooting at a rock 2,500 yards away, and he knows he's zeroed enough when he can hit the same rock 3 times. Don't get me wrong, it's a big-ass rock. It's more like a boulder. And just to be clear so we're all on the same page, the 50 cal is definitely more accurate with a scope.
Wait, J10, you've never fired? Okay, J10, just for clarification, Are we talking about any 50 cal weapon at all, or a 50 cal Barrett? Just for clarification, just so I know what you're referencing. But ACDC, you're right. I misspoke. I have used the Arctic, but the Rytech is my current go-to. The Rytech AIM is my current go-to, but I've also used the Arctic, and I've gotten some serious leveling up on both of them. Any Jayton? Oh, it might be difficult, but if you find yourself with the option to jump on an M2 and just go ham with it, it's fun. It's so much fun. I love the M2. It's a wonderful weapons platform. Oh yeah, it's you definitely have to make sure that you find a range where you can full auto it. Definitely make sure that you can full auto it. Single shot can be fun if you want to plink, but full auto it. If you can, make sure you find a full auto range and just cut loose with that son of a bitch.
But it's also definitely not a precision sniper rifle by any means. When you're shooting out to crazy distances like 2,500 yards, the quality of the gun and the quality of the ammunition really start to matter. If I did the math right, a 50 caliber BMG round traveling out of an M250 caliber Medusa at 2,500 yards, even if Carlos shot perfect, that round could still wind up anywhere within a 6-foot diameter of where he was actually aiming, and none of that would be on him. It's literally just the variability between the weapons platform and the ammunition. Obviously, Carlos Hathcock knows this, but it's still going to be a lot of fun because he was just sitting up there bored, unable to do anything, and now he's at least going to be able to scare the shit out of people. So that's what happens. Every time Carlos shows up for Overwatch duty, he pops the scope off of his Winchester,
Actually, Blade Quarter, my yell was on the way when I cut loose with that thing on a target. When I got to play around with the Modus, it was military guys that were working this rage, and they had us basically kind of like I said. I went through probably not exactly, but similar 50 cal qualifier range. Probably I think I was told that it was made as similar as they can make it to the military's qualifier. And we did the same thing that the military did. It was Humvee mounted. Thank you, P. Thank you for the tier 1. But the 50 cal was mounted on a Humvee, had a driver, and had a commanding NCO, stage of course. And we would go and we would move into position. And when a target would pop up, I would say, I would call out that I forget exactly what I said, but I basically called out that I spotted target, directionality. I would try to estimate. I would try to estimate the distance, and then the commander would say, fire, and then this is what they told us to say when we went through this course. I was told to say on the way when I engaged. So that's what I did. If that's not what the military actually does, this is what these guys told me to say. It was just Full Metal Jacket, Cortez. It was just FMJs. And so I would basically, on the way, and I would basically fire off a burst because I had more targets to fire at. And light the target up and put it down, and then if there's more targets, I would take them out, and then we would move to another position and repeat. And so yeah, it's they treated this, from what I was told, they treated it just like if I was in they did the same as the way the military did it, on this kind of range for this kind of firing exercise. So they said, I was told that, when you fire, when you're given the command to fire, you say on the way and you light them up. That's what I did. And it was fun as hell. And out of our group, I was top gun. So I downed every target. Well, I can't do it anymore, J10, because I'm in Canada. I'm not in the United States anymore, so I can't do it anymore, unfortunately. Kaibo, I don't think so. I don't know who Anger Cups. Like the where I went was very professional. And their equipment seemed like it was in excellent shape. And I don't think it was like I'm not sure about the group that you're talking about with Angry Cops, but it was I'm guessing it probably wasn't. It was like I mean, this was a while ago. This was years ago when I was still in the States. Um Clearboy, I don't know, because I don't know if they're still in operation. I'm not even sure. I don't even really remember the name of the group. Because this was years ago. This was many years ago before I came to Canada. So I don't know. Would I if I could? Sure. Um First step to fixing a problem, recognize what Teresa, what are you talking about? What problem? I'm confused. Oh no, Dave, no. This was not some kind of basic this was just like this was like a firing range where these people just were like offered to do this. Oh, Trace, I'll stop it. Yeah, no, Dave, this wasn't like a basic training thing. This was just like it was a range, and you were able to basically go through, working with the stuff, and they basically used the same kind of procedures as the military did. It wasn't like, basic training where they're yelling at you. They're just like, they were really cool, but the procedures was the same. That's all.
Mounts it onto the M250 caliber, and then he zeroes it on a boulder 2,500 yards away just to get it as close as humanly possible. Then one day on Overwatch duty, Hathcock's just scanning the perimeter, doing his normal thing, and he stops cold in his tracks. He's like, there's no way this is happening. And he motions over. LT, get over here. Get on the spotting scope. Look at this. LT gets on the spotting scope. He's like, okay, what am I looking at? And he's like, you see that dude, the scout with the binoculars, 2,500 yards out there? Not seeing him. He's like, he's literally sitting on a rock. Which rock is he sitting on? The one with all the bullet marks on it that I use to zero this gun every day is the rock that he's sitting on. The misfortune of this man is palpable. The LT sees him and is like, holy shit. Carlos Hathcock fires. Okay, here's the thing with this. Shooting an M250 cal at 2,500 yards, if I did this math right, that's going to take like 2.8 seconds for that round to get there, okay? That's almost 3 whole Mississippi. 3 Mississippi after firing a round is like 3 minutes in the bedroom. It's basically an eternity. As they're watching the scopes, the milliseconds are going by like hours. And this dude way out there on the rock apparently got done looking at whatever he was looking at and goes to stand up. At this point, Carlos is like, I missed. There's no way I'm gonna hit this. And as soon as he stands up completely, he catches this round directly in the head.
Deep center field. Pilar racing back, getting to the wall. He jumps and he makes the catch. That was awesome.
Wow.
And this is actually the world record for the longest distance confirmed kill in combat from 1967 until it was broken in 2002. It took almost 40 years of
by a Canadian. Just saying. I know it's been broken since then, but 2002, it was a Canadian sniper that broke the record for the longest distance shot. Just saying. Now the current record holder is someone from is a Ukrainian soldier. No, it's already been broken out. A Ukrainian sniper has broken the record. Someone from the Ukraine has the current record for the longest distance sniper shot. Yeah, again, for now.
Technological advancement and a sniper shooting an actual big-ass hopped-up modern-day sniper rifle, and he only beat Carlos Hathcock's record by 30 yards. Now, to be completely fair, as I've kind of already explained, there was a fair amount of luck involved in him actually landing this shot, and he is the first person to actually admit that in his interviews. However, Getting lucky is also kind of a skill, and Carlos Hathcock just doesn't miss.
And if he hadn't stood up, I'd went over his head. But, as luck would have it, he stood up. He caught that chunk of lead.
Alright. So this must be the female sniper you guys were talking about.
Carlos' stint doing Overwatch duty on Hill 55 would finally be broken when the Viet Cong sent out a group of counter-snipers to attack Hill 55, and Carlos in particular. As they continued to have interactions with this counter-sniper unit, the snipers on Hill 55 came to figure out that there was about 5 men being led by a highly trained female counter-sniper known as Apache. There was no women in combat roles during Vietnam, and they definitely would have been in a role as prestigious as a leader of a sniper crew. Maybe. Let's give it the 2-second Google test. Women in Viet Cong. Several million Vietnamese women served in the military and in the militias during the war, both for the north and the south of Vietnam. So women absolutely did find their way into combat during the Vietnam War. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were a highly trained sniper, so let's examine that more closely. The Vietnam War is essentially America versus guerrilla fighters known as the Viet Cong, and the Viet Cong are being backed by the NVA, the North Vietnamese Army, and the North Vietnamese Army is being backed by the USSR. So since the USSR is advising them, training them, and supplying them, the question becomes, would the USSR ever consider training and utilizing female snipers? Not only would they, they're literally the most famous people on the planet for doing it. In 1942, the USSR started a female-only sniper school because they believed that females excelled at the job of being a sniper. They believed that women were exceptionally good at this because people always underestimate women and don't see them as a threat. They were easier to conceal because they had smaller stature. They exhibited a greater pain tolerance. They were more patient. And they were easier to teach because they didn't have as big of an ego. And you know what?
And I think one other one, if I'm not mistaken, there is also something in the visual acuity of women that I think, and I don't think it's just broad scoping it. I think there's some specific thing in women's visual acuity that surpasses men's. I can't remember exactly what facet of it. It might be the colors thing. It may be that women are able to see colors much more in a much more defined way. That may be what I'm thinking, and then the higher periphery. Yeah, there's just a couple of things where women will edge out men in vision. So yeah, while men might see the motion, like with a woman sniper, she would see Carlos Hathcock's feather before a man would. Something like that. Reason why the French resistance WW was given those single shot pistols to pray. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway.
There's a solid argument they were right because a lot of the women that came out of that program ended up being some of the most successful snipers in human history. Literally, the Lady of Death, Ludmila Pavlichenko, who has 309 confirmed kills, came out of this program. And there's a ton more that have kill counts in the 2 and even 3-digit range.
You're probably thinking, what? This is crazy.
Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked.
Okay, I know people, like, you loved Yelena when she was introduced in Black Widow, but I don't know. I never thought she was all that great. I still 100% preferred Natasha over Yelena. But whatever.
Apache and her crew decide that the best way to try to take out the snipers on Hill 50.
Recently discovered a mutation in women where about 3% of women have 4 cones in the eye to detect color, but everyone else has 3. This allows women to see differentiated colors and shades of colors 99% of women can't even see. Interesting. Interesting. Well, RoboSpartan, she thought Clint actually killed Natasha. If I'm remembering the lore correctly. Granted, I never watched the Hawkeye series. I thought she believed Clint, actually killed Natasha versus Natasha sacrificing herself. That's what I was always under the impression of.
Is to go around to the local villages capturing South Vietnamese that they believe are aiding the Americans on Hill 55. And they capture them, and then at night they get them within earshot of the hill and torture them to death so that the Marines can hear their screams at night. And this is going on every night for like 2 weeks straight. The Marines are pissed. They're distraught. They don't know what to do because they know it's a trap. Okay, she has her whole crew set up with sniper positions, trained on her, and if they go in and find her and track her down, they're going to be walking face first into a trap. There's literally nothing they can do because she only comes out and does this at night. And they never know where she's going to be doing it because she does it in a different spot every single night. The only thing the Marines can do is go out the next morning, find the remains of her latest victim, and clean that up. And one day, Carlos is on the detail to go out and collect those remains and get everything taken care of. But today, it wasn't a North Vietnamese soldier or somebody helping out the Americans. It was a Marine. Seeing the remains of this young Marine who's been tortured to death,
Oh, no.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Carlos has never been so mad in his entire life. He goes back to Hill 55, gets his shit, gets ready, goes to Jim Land, tells him, I'm gonna go kill this bitch. To which Jim Land says, I'm coming with you, and they go out together. So Carlos Hathcock and Jim Land set out to stalk Apache. They have...
And right now, Apache's probably going, why am I hearing boss music? Why is there Latin chanting?
No idea where she's going to be next, but they do know where she's been most recently and the sites she hasn't been to for a while. So they go to one of the sites she's about due to visit and set up a hide. They're there all day, just scanning everywhere with the scope of their rifle and with their spotting scope. They're taking turns back and forth on who's on the rifle, who's on the spotting scope, because being in the prone firing position is absolutely exhausting. Carlos has just been in the prone for about an hour, and he goes to hand the rifle to Jim, and right as he hands the rifle to him, they both have a hand on it. Apache and 3 of her snipers appear off in the distance. Both Carlos and Jim tense up, not wanting to let go of the rifle because both of them want to take this shot because it's personal. This little tug of war ends up alerting Apache, and she disappears and the shot's gone. Both Jim Land and Carlos Hathcock are embarrassed. Now Apache knows they're out there hunting her, but that's what she's wanted all along, so they know that she's going to come and try to outsnipe them. So they're going to remove to a different hide where they're going to have a look at their current hide and the area around it and try to spot her when she comes for them. So they go, they get their new hide set up.
Honestly, I'm kind of wondering one thing here. Why didn't they deploy 2 teams? Congress with either Burke or with Land, and then one of the other 2 with one of their best and set up 2 sniper positions. Because then you could have triangulation, and I understand this is personal. I get it. I understand this is a personal hunt for them. Yeah, they didn't want anyone else on this hunt. I get that. And yes, with Carlos's mentality, he didn't want anybody else involved.
Because that would be twice as many people who Apache could shoot.
In theory, Leo, yes, but that's why I specifically said Carlos, Land, and Burke, and one other guy who's their top guy, because there's a reason why Carlos only trusted Burke and Land. So, like I said, I understand why they did it, but I'm just thinking, side thought on this is like, okay, they could have gotten a second team with their trusted people out there, and it could have worked. But at the same time, doing a single 2-man team, much smaller target, easier to hide, so I do understand that. I'm kind of like just brainstorming out loud. That's all.
And they're waiting all day, they're scanning and they're waiting, and somewhere along the line Jim Land calls into the artillery guys and gets them set up with the exact coordinates of this entire area. That way, if they do show up, he's at least going to cover this place with artillery shells and try to take them out that way. And they keep waiting all day long, and then right at dusk, as the sun is about to go down completely, they see 5 shadowy figures off in the distance of the wood line sneaking around. But they're not sure it's them yet, so they just continue to watch, and then this crew starts stalking around, going around the old location where Hathcock and Land were. So this has to be them. So they're waiting for a good shot, and then one of the figures steps off to the side and squats down to do something. Maybe they're tying their shoe, maybe they got to check the map, something.
Or maybe it's a female that has to squat to pee. Man, one of the downsides of being a female in combat, you can't just piss on a tree. Unfortunately, it's not that simple for a woman. Yep.
But Jim Land takes this opportunity to radio in and start dropping artillery on that location. The first artillery shell lands literally seconds later. These Marines had this dialed in so close already. And as the first shell lands, that shadowy figure is still squatting down, and Carlos realizes that's got to be Apache, and she's squatting down to take a piss. Carlos realizes this the second the first artillery round hits, and when that happens, Apache stands up and starts sprinting away. Carlos follows her with his crosshairs, gets a bead on her as she continues to run, and he fires. She collapses. Carlos immediately reloads the bolt on his Winchester and fires again into her body as it lies lifeless on the ground. 3 of the other figures have been taken down by the artillery, and there's now just one man running away. Carlos immediately shifts over and fires on him, dropping him as well. After the artillery barrage stopped, there was eerie silence as Carlos and Jim Land approached their corpses. They ended up recovering Apache's sniper log, proving that it was her. Later in life, Carlos said that his first shot at Apache when she was running at a full sprint while artillery was going off all around him at dusk was the best shot he's ever made, and the most personal one.
Guy in front of her.
Really? Even in comparison to his sniper battle with Cobra. Interesting. Okay. It's impressive that he caught her on the move with artillery falling, without question, but the hardest shot? I mean, I honestly, like, the most personal, okay, that part I get, the most personal, that I understand. You mean Cobra was not personal to him. Cause he said, hang on, let me hear what he said again.
His first shot at Apache when she was running at a full sprint while artillery was going off all around him at dusk was the best shot he's ever made, and the most personal one.
Guy in front.
Yeah. Like, the most personal one, I get. 100% I get. That I do understand. Well, yeah, Cobra was stationary and Apache was running, but here's the thing. Here's why I'm questioning it. The personal aspect, yeah, totally, I'm on board. 100% on board. But he caught, and yes, Apache was running, but Cobra he got through the fucking sniper scope. The pinpoint accuracy of that snapshot. Mind you, it was a snapshot. In my point of view, that one is probably a better shot than Carlos tagging Apache on the run with artillery falling. Well, but that's the question about. Does Carlos consider the scope shot unintentional? And Atanashi, that you may be correct. It is he may have said it was the best shot because he valued that shot more. That could be why. I imagine that, and who knows, Carlos may clarify things here shortly. It's possible that because of the emotional weight behind the shot is why he categorized it as the best shot. Carlos Hathcock actually took out another sniper, a snapshot where he just raised, aimed, and shot all within like a second or two, and took out that enemy sniper through the scope of his sniper rifle. Like the bullet went through the other sniper's scope. So it's possible the emotional weight is why Carlos said that this was the best shot. At dusk, maybe, possibly. Carboy, because he's that fucking good. That's how he did it.
In front of her was trying to get her to stop because they were.
Okay, Robosberg counterpoint. Carlos said he was lucky, but that he was lucky he got the shot off first. Not that he was lucky for the placement of his shot. That's the lucky part, is he pulled the the luck part for him was he pulled the trigger first.
Ever made, and the most personal one.
The guy in front of her was trying to get her to stop because they were running right towards us where they'd seen us before. He trying to get her to stop. She didn't, but I stopped her. I put one extra for good measure because that was the best shot I ever made, I think.
Okay, that reaction, I think he's talking from an emotional perspective. That's what it feels like. He's saying it was the best shot he ever made from an emotional perspective.
So Carlos Hathcock, Jim Land, and John Burke are all back on Hill 55. Things are kind of starting to slow down. I mean, they're still going out on missions, they're still doing Overwatch duty, but they're not having run-ins with any more main characters, you know, people with nicknames and prowess. It's just your typical anonymous bad guys, your Homer Hamburger type situations. Now, Carlos has been in theater for about 11 months. Remember, the first 4 was him being an MP guarding the front gate to a base, but the other 7 months have been pretty fast-paced and non-stop the entire time. So in the next month or 2, he should be heading back home to see his wife Josephine, and he's ready for it. He's tired. He's been through an awful lot. At this point, he has about 86 confirmed kills and hundreds of probables that can't be confirmed because there wasn't an officer present to witness. Then one day, out of the blue on Hill 55, a bunch of Force Recon Marines show up, but they're not acting like your normal Force Recon Marines. These guys show up. There's no pleasantries. There's no, hi, how are you? There's no introductions. My name's so-and-so. I'm from this unit. That, nothing. They show up and are like, are you Carlos Hathcock? And he's like, yeah, that's me. And he's like, we need the best sniper around to go on a mission. I can't tell you what it is. I just need to know if you want to do it. This entire situation is weird. Carlos is thinking these guys got to be working for the CIA or some special operation that nobody knows about. Either way, he comes to the conclusion he has to be the one to go out on this mission because they're looking for the best sniper for a reason. Clearly, it's got to be extremely dangerous. And Carlos realizes that if he says no, they're just going to go to the next best guy. And if that next best guy isn't good enough to pull this off, Carlos is going to spend the rest of his life wondering that if he'd have gone on this mission, maybe that guy would still be alive. So Carlos agrees to do it. So they pull him in, they brief him on this mission. Basically, there's this man that they call the Frenchmen that these Force Recon Marines have been stalking for months. Apparently, after the French left Vietnam and America took over the theater, this guy stayed for some reason, and he is now helping to run guns between the USSR and the Viet Cong. This group of guys, whether they're Force Recon Marines or CIA or whatever they are, have apparently been watching this guy for months, and this guy never leaves this French villa compound that he lives in.
This is this is sounding very similar to the plot from Sniper. Because I'm pretty sure they had a very similar plot in that movie to this. Did they just take, like, parts of Carlos Hathcock's life and use them for the crafting of this movie? Because it's starting to sound like it.
The problem is they don't know how to get in there and take him out. If they bomb the compound and he's got some type of bomb shelter in there that they don't know about and he ends up surviving, he's going to bounce and he's going to be gone forever, and they can't have that. They also can't send in a small team to take him out because this guy has a ton of security patrolling around this compound 24/7 all day, every day. The only time they ever actually get visual confirmation that this guy is inside the compound is when he actually shows up to the front gate to meet with the Viet Cong that are either dropping off or picking up weapons because he doesn't like them coming inside the compound, so he at least shows his face at the gate. So their thought is if they can get a sniper to take him out when he goes to the gate to meet the Viet Cong, that's going to be the best way to guarantee that this guy dies. But the problem with that is this villa is out in the middle of a grass field for like 800 yards in every single direction, meaning that the closest they're going to be able to get for a sniper is 800 yards away, which is really pushing the limits of what a sniper at this point in time can do, and they don't have anybody with them that can make that shot guaranteed. And this is where Carlos Hathcock comes in. So they give Carlos a topographical map. They tell him, here's the locations that we can insert you with a helicopter. Here's the places that we can extract you. Here's the villa. You pick where you want to line up your shot. However you want to get this done, you tell us. We'll make it happen. Carlos is examining this map. He identifies a good spot that he thinks he's going to be able to get this shot off at the front gate. It's about 800 yards away from the gate. From there, they figure the entry point with the helicopter, the extraction point, they get the whole plan laid out. Him and John Burke are going in the very next morning. That night, Carlos spends quite a while memorizing the entire topographical map. He's going to know exactly where they're getting dropped off, exactly all the terrain features in the area that he needs to be able to identify to know where he's going, and exactly how to get from the point he takes a shot back to their extraction point and get out. He doesn't even need to bring the map with him because it is burned into his memory. Very next morning, Hathcock and Burke jump inside this helicopter. They get flown in, they get inserted, they get dropped off, helicopter takes off. These guys start sneaking their way through this wood line, making their way to where they got to line up this shot. It takes them a couple hours, but they finally make their way up to this big dirt mound right on the edge of the wood line. They get set up. They get their shots lined up. They're looking right at the front of this gate. There's patrols going around, but these guys are 800 yards away from this front gate. They're fine. They're just waiting, watching, and observing all day long, watching for hours and hours.
Oh,
and hours.
God.
Sure enough, a convoy of cars comes rolling up the road towards this gate. They stop at the gate. A bunch of dudes get out. It's the Viet Cong, and they're waiting at the gate. And sure enough, this massive French guy comes walking out in a white button-up shirt. This dude's well over 6 feet tall. At this point, Carlos is thinking, you know, this is an 800-yard shot. We're really pushing the limits of when I can guarantee I'm going to hit. But this guy's doing everything he can to make it easy for me, wearing that nice white button-up shirt. He literally looks like he's still...
Okay, good night, Blake Clear. Okay. I have my suspicions, but I don't know how well they're going to be founded. I'm gonna wait to say something.
Silhouette paper target that he's used to shooting back home at the range. Not only that, but because he's so tall, he is head and shoulders above all these Viet Cong guys. And as soon as he stops walking around and stops to talk at the guy in charge, Carlos lines up his shot, takes it, and just folds the guy in half. One shot, one kill. Hathcock and Burke slide down the reverse side of the mound and start making their way back to the extraction point.
Okay. I was wrong. Apparently I'm wrong. I thought for sure, the way this was set up, I thought for sure Dracel, maybe Decoy, I was thinking he had some kind of protection under his shirt. Like, I don't know if like a vest of some sort. Cause he's got this fucking bright white shirt as the perfect target to draw the eye. That's what makes me think he had some kind of protection on.
The Viet Cong and the guards have no idea what just happened. They don't even know where the shot came from. They're panicked, freaking out, running around. And Carlos and Burke make their getaway back to the helicopter, get picked up, get flown back to Hill 55, get dropped off, and they're like, cool, thanks, get the fuck out of my helicopter, and just ditch them. So now Hathcock and Burke are back at the hill like, this is a weird
Well, that happened.
Like, they didn't say thank you. They didn't debrief him. Nothing. They just asked if the dude's dead. Carlos is like, yep, he's dead. They dropped him off, and that was the end of it. There's no, like, we'll be in touch. We'll talk to you soon. Carlos doesn't even know any of these guys' names. They just dropped him off and bounced.
What the hell just happened?
Now, Carlos doesn't know this at the time, and honestly, he may have never found out because the government didn't even admit that this existed until the late 1990s, but everything about this sounds like MACV-SOG. If you don't know, at this point in time during Vietnam, America has this ultra-secret special forces group known as MACV-SOG, and it is comprised of the very best Army Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Force Recon Marines available, and their job is to covertly go into neutral territories like Cambodia and Laos, because the North Vietnamese army
this is what you guys were talking
neutral
about.
countries to smuggle supplies all the way down deep into South Vietnam. So they are going into Cambodia and Laos as well in small man teams trying to stop them. Now, to be completely fair and intellectually honest, I can't prove this, but everything adds up, and I think that Carlos Hathcock just got picked up by some MACV-SOG guys, flown into either Laos or Cambodia without him even knowing, conducted a covert operation inside of a neutral country to help stop the supply chain of supplies getting funneled into South Vietnam to help the Viet Cong. The time period, location, and mission set lines up exactly with what MACV-SOG was doing at the time, and this would explain why they were so secretive and didn't tell Carlos what exactly he was doing or where he was doing it.
Yeah? The general?
Back home on Hill 55, some time passes and everything's just regular. It's normal. Wake up, go to battle with Homer Hamburger, go to bed, repeat. This goes on for about a month, and then, sure enough, the Recon Marine / CIA / MACV-SOG, whatever the fuck these guys are, they show back up again, asking for Carlos Hathcock. Pretty much the same exact thing happens. No pleasantries, no hi, how are yous, no introductions, doesn't know anybody's name, just, hey, we got a dangerous mission, you're the best man for the job, do you want it or not? And at this point, Carlos Hathcock is 3 weeks away from going home to his wife, Josephine. Absolutely nobody would blame him if he did not want to go out.
Oh fuck, he's living the 3 weeks from retirement meme right now. Oh shit.
On this top secret, extremely dangerous mission with this weird special forces group that nobody knows who they are. But again, Carlos knows that if he doesn't accept this mission, they're just going to go to the next guy, and that guy isn't as good as Carlos Hathcock, and he just can't live with that. Carlos accepts the mission. Okay, they take him in, they brief him on what's going on. It's basically the exact same mission as when he killed the Frenchmen, except now it's even harder. This time it's an NVA general. He's living inside of this French villa that's kind of tucked up right by the wood line overlooking
Thank
this
you, Axe,
enormous
for the follow,
grass
Anxious
field.
Crane.
And the dudes briefing Carlos are like, this field is like 2,000 yards long. There's no terrain features to get the high ground. There's nowhere to even
wait a minute. Wait. Oh shit. Thorzen, did I say hello to you? If I didn't, I'm sorry. Hi, thank you for the follow and welcome. I only just realized that you followed. I might have missed it. Thank you.
A shot close, so obviously you're going to have to shoot from the wood line. The problem with that is they're patrolling around this compound 24/7 all day and night, and they're using dogs. So even if you can get close enough to take the shot, they're going to start looking for you and hunting you down with dogs after the fact, and then you're really going to have a problem. You're probably not going to make it out of this. Carlos is immediately like, I'm not taking the shot from that wood line, I'm taking the shot from that grass field. And the advisors are like, what? What are you talking about? To which Carlos is like, that's the last place they'd expect it to come from, so that's where it has to come from. I want you guys to drop me off way over here on the other end of the map. I'll go through these woods, and then I'm gonna low crawl for 3 days, moving 1 foot an hour until I can clear 1,200 yards to get within 800 yards of this villa, and then I'm gonna take the shot and hopefully sneak away. To which the advisors are like, I mean, sounds crazy to me, but you're the expert. We came to you for a reason. If that's how you want to do it, go ahead and get it done. Go ahead and grab your boy John Burke. You guys get ready. You're going out first thing in the morning. At which point, Carlos informs him he's going out alone on this one. It's too dangerous, and moving that far through that grass field, he needs to be as small as physically possible. So Carlos goes back to his tent, grabs everything he needs. He grabs 1 canteen of water, a little bit of food, his rifle, and his Colt 1911 for a backup weapon. And for the first time since he found it, he leaves the white feather there because he doesn't have anybody else there with him to protect, and he wants every advantage he can get. From there, he goes, gets in the helicopter, they fly.
Okay. Cue the heroic choir music right now. We've talked about the boss music before. Now we need the heroic choir music playing. 'Cause shit's getting good.
Him there, insert him exactly where he wanted to be, drop him off right at dusk. He maneuvers through the wood line, gets to this field by nighttime, and starts low crawling all night long. And there's still patrols all night long. They're going around with spotlights, walking around, but Carlos only brought 1 canteen of water because he wanted 1 canteen on one hip, and he's not just going to crawl belly down this entire time. He's going to crawl on his side to leave as small of a trail as possible. Carlos is making himself so small, and he's moving so slowly under the cover of night that they would literally have to step right on top of him to be able to find him. And according to Carlos, they almost did on several occasions. They got within arm's reach. Fortunately for Carlos, every time the patrols got close, he could hear them goofing off or not taking this job very seriously because he knew that they knew nobody in their right mind would ever try to attack that villa from this enormous field that's being covered by patrols. They'd be coming from that other wood line. So the enemy's guard is down and they're not being very diligent, which is exactly what Carlos wanted. At this point, he starts getting a little bit more confidence that he's actually going to pull this off. Carlos crawls all night long. He makes it 400-500 yards in, and then as the sun comes up, his strategy is to just lay there, not moving. Try to sleep the best of his ability while still being alert, and he just doesn't want to move at all. It's too risky in daylight. So that's what he does. He lays there, motionless, all day long. When the patrols go by and he knows he can get away with it, he'll take a sip of water. Maybe he tries to eat a tiny bit of food. Otherwise, he's just laying there. So obviously, this sucks, but...
Can we just appreciate the level of discipline this must have required for him to do this? To be almost completely motionless for depending on the time of year, we're probably talking about, what, 16 hours before the sun went down? Maybe 14, depending upon the time of year, that he would have to be motionless for almost like 12, 14 hours. And occasionally getting a sip of water or a nibble of food. And he's going to be doing this for three days. Fucking hell.
The plan is it's supposed to suck, so everything's actually going great. But by lunchtime, a vulture, or whatever the Vietnamese equivalent of a vulture in this part of the world, starts circling overhead above Hathcock. To which Carlos is like, shit, what do I do? Do I just keep laying here and let it keep circling? Like, it's not going to get the balls to come up and try to eat me. I should be fine that way. But then he realizes it's a bunch of army dudes with their...
Cheer 100% 20 concentration percent 20 at percent 201,000% percent 20 nat percent 2020% 20 on percent 20 stealth.
Yeah, J10, the TTS does not like the percentage sign. He didn't do anything wrong, it's just TTS kind of has a stroke when you use a percentage sign in a TTS message. So yes, for the future, if you want to put percent in your message, just actually type the word percent.
Guard down, and if they see a vulture circling, one of those dumbasses might just be like, hey, let's go see what animal's dying in the field that vulture sees. So Carlos has to figure out a way to get this vulture to quit circling overhead. Now, he wishes he could just shoot the fucking thing, but obviously that's not an option. So literally the only thing he can do to try to get this vulture off of his trail is to start moving slowly again, but now it's in the daylight, so it's extremely dangerous. But at least he's still pretty far away, and he's not up close, so maybe nobody will notice. So that's what he does. He starts inching along again in the daylight, hoping this vulture fucks off, and eventually it does. By then, it's nighttime again. Carlos again crawls all night long, clearing hundreds of more yards. By the time the sun comes up the next day, he's made it a total of somewhere between 900 and 1,000 yards in, meaning he only needs to go 300 to 200 more before he can finally get that 800-yard shot. Luckily, there's no vultures circling overhead today. Unfortunately, he is now being eaten alive by fire ants. In addition to that, he's out of water, he's out of food, he's dehydrated, he's hungry, and he's just laying in this field dressed like a bush, getting baked alive by the sun while fire ants are trying to eat him. And this is the hardest part of the entire mission, the mental game, the suffering of knowing that he's 1,100 yards at most away from his target, and he's taken shots that far before and landed them. He knows that in theory, he could take this shot right now and it could all be over and he could just go back home and get some water, some food, and get these fucking fire ants off of him. At that distance, he could make it, but he can't guarantee it. So he lays there and just continues to suffer the entire day until that night when he advances forward another 300 to 400 yards. Somewhere between 700 and 800 yards away, he finds this tiny little elevation, this little itty-bitty hump of dirt that doesn't even appear on topographical maps. It's so small. And he gets on top of it, and this is going to be where he takes his shot from. The next day, he's watching with a scope, trying to figure out who the general is and get ready to take this shot. And after a while, he starts to figure out a lot of these guys keep going back to the same person, and that same guy keeps pointing, and then these dudes keep going and doing whatever he's pointing at. So clearly, that's got to be the man in charge. That's the general. Carlos gets ready to line up his shot. His bubble of concentration starts.
I have to wonder, like, why was he not given any intel on who the general was? Like, surely, if they approached him and said, hey, there's this guy, the general, we know where he is, wouldn't they have some kind of intel on him? Like, a fucking photo? You don't think they had any ideas? Okay. That they may not have. I find it odd, though, that they wouldn't. I do find it odd that they're just like, you'll figure out who it is. Not like hand him like a full dossier, but at least a photo. They knew his name and where he was, but no photo. I find that very odd that they wouldn't even have a photo. That surprises me that they would not even have that. But I mean, it's called military intelligence for a reason. Even in the 70s, Gamival, I would expect at least a photo. At least.
man in charge. That's the general. Carlos gets ready to line up his shot. His bubble of concentration starts forming. He no longer cares that he's dehydrated. He's tired. He's hungry. He has a bunch of fire ant bites. The only thing that exists in the world right now is his crosshairs, his trigger finger, and where that bullet's going in that general's chest. He takes his shot. He racks another round into the gun immediately in case he has to have a follow-up shot because he missed. And as he re-racks it and his scope recenters on the general, he sees him collapse to the ground, dead. As he's watching this unfold, his bubble of concentration finally bursts as an alarm starts going off, and he realizes, oh shit, this mission isn't over yet, and I gotta get out of here. Just as he's about to slide down the backside of this elevation he's on, he looks and sees that all of the guards and patrols are running the other direction into the woodline because that's obviously where a sniper would be hiding. Carlos's plan worked. Carlos crawls as fast as he can, gets out of this field, makes it back to the wood line, goes all the way to where he's supposed to have the rendezvous point, but because Carlos had spent the first day crawling as well, he'd taken this shot a lot earlier than anybody had anticipated. So now he's just gotta wait. That's the only option. So he finds himself a nice little hide, conceals himself as good as he can, and he takes a nap until the helicopters wake him up when they get there. Same exact thing as last time. They pick him up in the helicopter. Did you get the guy? He's like,
wait. Am I misremembering? I thought he said that it would take him another full, like, 3 days to crawl his way back out. And Cortana's similar. I think what they did is they took the Frenchman and they took the general and mashed the two together into one character. Because in the Sniper movie, he crawls to a bar. And what their plan was they were going to do 2 shots so they couldn't be triangulated. So Beckett crawled across the field to the bar. And so, yeah, I think they may have taken those 2 times in Carlos's life and mashed them together for the plot of the film. Yeah, okay, so I was right. He was planning on slow crawling back out over the course of 3 days, but because they went buck wild on the tree line, he was able to escape faster. Okay, now I'm getting it.
It's like, yep, I got him. Cool. Thanks, I guess. Take him back to Hill 55K. Get the fuck out of my helicopter. Still,
and hello, Chirk. Thank you for the follow.
This story is also made up and completely ridiculous because Carlos never knew the name of the general and the NVA never reported that they lost a general at this point in time. Okay, 1, never trust enemy documentation, especially if they're communist, and double that doubt if it's a lack of documentation that you're referring to. And 2, if this was a MACV-SOG mission, which I'm fairly confident it was, it meant that Carlos was flown into Laos or Cambodia, not even realizing it, to take this shot, which means the NVA weren't going to report that they lost a general inside of a neutral territory that they weren't supposed to be inside of anyways, similar to how the US government never reported losing MACV-SOG operatives inside of Laos and Cambodia. And again, to be completely intellectually honest, I cannot stress this enough. I can't prove that this was a MACV-SOG mission. I tried for like a year. But humor me, let's take 2 seconds and just Google it. MACV-SOG Operation 1967, the exact same year that this supposedly went down. MACV-SOG led a mission to eliminate Vietnam's top general by going behind enemy lines.
That's suspicious.
Okay, I can't prove it, but if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. But if you still doubt it, you should consult an expert and maybe see if they think it's a duck, and we can do that too. Okay, all the interviews we have recorded of Carlos Hathcock discussing all of this, those interviews were conducted by a man by the name of John Plaster, who was a MACV-SOG operative in the same theater at the same time, that became a sniper and then wrote like 15 books about being a sniper. On top of that, Jim Land, you know, his commanding officer and also a world-renowned sniper, was in multiple interviews after the fact and also never cast any doubt on anything Carlos said ever. So just so we're all on the same page, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and none of the experts at hand doubt its duckliness. It's probably
Sergeant Siwa. It's the only explanation. Siwa stuck around till Vietnam, snuck around behind enemy lines, took out the general, and took out the Frenchmen. It's the only thing that makes sense, chat. Yes. Yes. The devil duck. It's the only plausible explanation. I'm sorry. It was the devil duck.
It's fucking duck.
Quack, quack. Shoot the duck! Shoot the duck!
Why is when I see this, the first thing I'm hearing is Daffy Duck just going, God damn it. I so want an adult cartoon to do a situation like this, where Daffy gets blasted in the face in a situation where he's going, shoot the duck! Elmer blasts in. I want to hear Daffy just go, God damn it.
I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked and angry. Anyways, so Carlos is back at Hill 55. Basically, at this point, he's got a couple more days of duty, and then it's time for him to pack his shit up and go back home to America. He's home for about a year, and then he gets sent back to Vietnam again in 1969.
What?
Now, over the last couple of years, and in part due to Carlos Hathcock himself, being a scout sniper has become much more well-known and much more respected. Because of that, the Marine Corps is actually starting to get scout sniper equipment, and Carlos isn't going to have to do his second deployment with a civilian hunting rifle. He gets issued a Remington 700, chambered in .308, racks up a couple more confirmed kills, bringing his total to 93 confirmed by that ridiculous confirmation criteria, with somewhere between 300 and 400 probables. Then one day he gets ready to go out on a mission, does his favorite strategy of linking up with an infantry unit, and then as they move along, at some point he's going to peel off and go do his own thing. And on this particular occasion, he hops inside of an Amtrak because they were mechanized. They're going along, it's an ordinary day, they're bullshitting inside the Amtrak, you know, just doing what guys do. And
oh no. Oh no. Oh, chat. Oh, I'm scared. I have a very, very bad feeling right now. Oh no.
And then all of a sudden, the Amtrak drove over a mine and blew up, and the entire thing is now going up in flames. Carlos is literally on fire, and the other 7 Marines are worse off than him as he starts dragging them outside of this flaming Amtrak one at a time. He gets all 7 of them out, gets himself out, collapses, still on fire, and then a Navy corpsman from one of the other Amtraks runs out, and I don't know how, but they said that he used water from either a puddle or a nearby pond to put Carlos out. Carlos is burnt to a crisp. They medevac him out of there. He goes through the whole medical system, makes his way back to Brookfield Medical Center. From there, he has to get skin grafts using his skin, whatever's left of it, other people's skin, animal skin. Because of the water they used to put the fire out, he ends up getting this weird fungal infection that he's got to battle. And then he ends up getting a bunch of different types of staph infections. Then he ends up getting pneumonia. And by the time he fights all these infections, tries to heal from his burns, he's down to 97 pounds. He's in the hospital at Brookfield Medical Center from September of 1969 until January of 1970, and on January 5th, he walks out and returns to active duty. From there, he went on to...
Are you fucking kidding me? Leather fucking Giga Chat. Okay. His story is one that should be used to be striking fear into the enemy. He got blown up, burned to a crisp, had to fight off a massive infection, healed, and as soon as he got out, he said, "Where's my gun?" That should be a story leaked to the enemy to terrify them. Yeah, and he doesn't miss.
Continue to build and instruct the Marine Corps Scout Sniper program. That expanded into law enforcement and other branches of the U.S. military. He helped create what we know today as modern sniping. Health-wise, he never fully recovered. He was always wearing white cotton undergarments, a long-sleeve shirt, and long-sleeve pants because his grafted skin was so sensitive that the military uniform would actually chafe it and cause it to bleed. Despite that, he still continued to train the next generation of snipers until in 1975 when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And again, despite that, he managed to hang on for 4 more years of active duty, continuing to be an instructor. After his retirement in 1979, he became a contractor consulting for the U.S. military and law enforcement agencies for sniping, obviously. He also, at this point in time, picked up a new hobby of going shark fishing because he's Carlos Hathcock, that's why. Then in the 1980s, somebody writes a book about him called Marine Sniper, 93 Confirmed Kills. This book is incredibly popular. Carlos goes from being a legend inside of the Marine Corps and the U.S. military to being probably the most famous and well-known sniper in the world. And at this point, people start asking questions like, well, why doesn't this guy have like a bunch of high-ranking medals or the Medal of Honor? Like, why? He seems like he's been underappreciated for what he's done. So Jim Land, his commanding officer, and a bunch of other people came out of the woodwork to testify to these award committees that Carlos should be getting the Medal of Honor for all the incredible things that he's done. The problem is he was in an experimental unit and they were busy. Nobody was trying to get awards at the time. They were trying to do a job, so there wasn't a ton of documentation. And the other issue, in my opinion, he may or may not have been unknowingly doing operations for Mac v SOG, which at this point in time is still super top secret and the government hasn't admitted even exists yet. And you see this a lot from people from that era not getting the awards that they actually earned because they were a place that the government said they weren't when they earned that award. You have war heroes like Roy Benavidez who earned the Medal of Honor and didn't get it until 15 years after the fact because he was in Cambodia on a Mac v SOG operation when it happened. So this award appeals process gets drug out for years, and by 1996, Carlos Hathcock is diagnosed with Parkinson's in combination to his burns, in combination to his MS. He ends up being bound to a wheelchair. In that same year of 1996, he was also retroactively awarded a Silver Star for his courageous actions of dragging those other Marines out of the burning Amtrak. His other incredibly heroic acts would go unrewarded, and in 1999, 3 years later, he would pass away due to medical complications at the age of 56. So in conclusion, that is the story of White Feather, Carlos Hathcock, the greatest sniper of all time. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. All right, for every item purchased out of my merch store for the month of August 2024, you're automatically going to get one entry to win this custom Steelhead Outdoors locking cabinet. It's pretty awesome. You can put guns, whatever else you wanted inside of it. Inside's pretty dope too, as you can see.
If I'm not mistaken, aren't the Marines getting rid of the Scout Sniper program for something else? Looks like history repeating itself once again.
Revan, I hope that's not true. I really hope that's not true.
But yeah, every single item, doesn't matter if it's a koozie, a sticker, a shirt, sweater, any item is one entry automatically, and then there's a free way to enter over on bunkerbranding.com. You can get all the links and everything over thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
Would you like to be remembered?
But a pork roast.
That's an Arkansas man, you know?
That's it.
When you're gone, how would you like to be looked at or remembered? Would you like your legacy?
Just that I did a good job. I did a good job. That's all I want. That's all I want. Be recognized as somebody, Marine, trying to do his job.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. I mean, he is labeled as the greatest sniper in history for a reason. Yeah.